Have you ever gotten hit when playing a fighting game and yelled out, "That move is stupid"? If so, then this video is for you, as I thought it would be fun to look back at some stupid moves within the genre and determine what makes them so memorable. Just so we're on the same page, I loosely define a stupid move, with stupid being used as a positive term of endearment, not as an insult, as an attack that provides the initiator with an immediate advantage for almost no effort, or a move that elicits a strong emotional reaction from the players. Whether the winning player is dying laughing as they throw out some grade A BS, or the loser is recoiling in agony as they feel like going back to the character select screen, they're the types of attacks that make your jaw drop and your eyes doubt what they've just witnessed. Also, I feel it's important to note that I'm not well versed in every fighting game franchise, but I tried my best to feature as many games and series as I can without spending too much time on the more obvious examples. If I miss out on a particularly egregious attack, feel free to let me know in the comments, as the more info we can share about our favourite fighting games, the better, and I would love to learn more. Without further ado, let's jump into some stupid moves. As someone who has never played a League of Legends before, I was apprehensive to try out 2xKO as I simply don't have any connections to its characters, but after receiving a beta code I gave it a shot and have been having a lot of fun with it. My team so far is Vi and Darius, and the big dude is who we're going to be looking at because he has an incredibly stupid super, one that will never get old. By pressing medium and special 2, Darius performs Noxian Might, a level 1 super that takes the form of a massive swing of his battle axe. It does solid damage, destroys projectiles, and leaves the enemy in a state where they take extra chip damage, but none of those are why I've decided to discuss this super. Rather, this is why. For whatever reason, the developers decided to give Noxian Might a giant, and I mean giant, hitbox. If the enemy whiffs anything on the ground or the air from a great distance, you can throw this out to reliably punish them, and as the attack isn't locked behind a motion input, even those with no fighting game experience can make instantly great use of it. Noxian Might is also fantastic as a DHC tool, and I love using it after Vi's ground pound super. Even with my lack of 2xKO experience, I had no trouble coming up with high damage ender routes with characters I have no idea how to play as thanks to the size of the attack, so it's very consistent. Normally that would be about all, but if you lose your partner and enter Fury mode, Noxian Might does even more damage. It becomes a true force to be reckoned with here, and you can score wicked damage from simple combos. Conversely, if Darius is the one who goes down, Noxian Might can now be used as an assist. Sure, it costs a bar of meter, but it's still pretty good to have here, especially because it can jump scare unaware opponents. It's not all sunshine and rainbows though, as skilled players can easily parry the strike and punish Darius. Because of this, I don't recommend recklessly throwing the move out, so make sure to only use it when you know it'll connect. Putting its damage, range, synergy, etc. aside for now, what makes Noxian Might stand out to me the most is its ease of use. There's absolutely no reason why anyone would ever struggle to apply this move in their game plan, so if you can hit 2 buttons at once, then you can end any combo in style and lead into a big level 3. In a game with 50 playable characters, you're bound to find some moves that are really tough to deal with. Rapid Slash, Bionic Arm, Human Rocket, Dark Phoenix, etc., but there's one particular attack that springs to mind for me: Foot Dive. If you've ever seen even a second of Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 before, then you've definitely seen Dr. Doom players make liberal use of this move, and there are several reasons as to why I think it's stupid. Firstly, it's a one-button attack. Jump and press launcher. That's it. No execution required, and it can be done anywhere on the screen, provided you're in the air. Secondly, it leads to a hard knockdown, and as Doom has multiple strikes that allow him to OTG and continue the combo, Foot Dive is the perfect combo starter. Thirdly, Foot Dive is an overhead, so if the opponent ever tries to block low, it will catch them, and this can lead to theoretical unblockables with assists. Finally, the move can randomly cross up. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I swear I blocked it properly only to die in the process. Put together, Foot Dive is a one-button cross-up overhead hard knockdown. Making things even more maddening is the fact that Doom can land a foot dive and easily confirm into a touch of death. Hell, you even have time to teabag before picking up, that's how plus this is on hit! On the other hand, it's highly unsafe on block, but only if you've already used your air dash. If you haven't used it, then dash out of the recovery. Simple. It must be mentioned, however, that if Foot Dive connects with the edge of the screen, it abruptly ends early and Doom can be punished. Go to any TNS video on YouTube and you'll definitely find high-level Doom players utilizing Foot Dive to great effect, so you can only imagine how annoying it must be for those at lower skill levels. My experience with playing and commentating competitive Marvel here in Australia has led me to see thousands of these foot dives in person, and even though it sucks hard being on the receiving end, I gotta admit, it's amazing to witness as a spectator. I'm kind of cheating with this, as instead of focusing on a specific move in Street Fighter 1, I've decided to highlight all of the special moves. Despite Ryu and Ken being the only playable fighters, and even then they're kind of identical, there are plenty of WTF moments to be had when playing through this glorious specimen of a fighting game. With its overwhelmingly strict input reader, Street Fighter 1 is known to not give players what they've inputted, and it's a far cry from the input leniency that we're used to in modern fighting games. There are ways to semi-consistently pull these moves off via negative edge techniques, but they can be challenging to perform in the heat of the moment, and this leads to a lack of reliable strategy. Good luck ever trying to consistently zone the enemy with fireballs or to punish their jump-ins with DPs, because the game will often eat your inputs, most likely leading to your downfall. However, if you do manage to get one out, you can see that the damage output from special moves is shockingly high. 1 or 2 specials is all that's needed to demolish any character in the game, and as the AI-controlled NPCs in arcade mode never have to worry about inputs, they can throw them out with reckless abandon. Seriously, if you've ever played Street Fighter 1, then you've most likely immediately lost a round because the enemy AI decided to activate Beast Mode out of nowhere. The further you progress in the arcade ladder, the more challenging it becomes, and if you somehow make it to Sagat, you'll understand what I mean. He's the worst offender by far. As far as I remember, the input leniency being this harsh wasn't a result of incompetency. Rather, the designers intended for special moves to somewhat act as hidden strikes that only the most knowledgeable players could access, so you can think of them like cheat codes in other old-school arcade games. Cheat codes that take a frustrating amount of effort, but cheat codes nonetheless. If you've never played Street Fighter 1 before, I recommend trying it out for yourself on Fightcade and seeing if you can consistently perform these types of attacks. I find them a lot easier to do on keyboard than a fight stick or even a pad, so try that method. They're really stupid, but in retrospect, they act as the originator to what we know today, so I can't knock them too much. Moving on to another first game in an iconic series, Tekken 1, along with its younger brother Tekken 2, are unique in that they don't feature lateral movement as core gameplay components, so you can think of Tekken 1 as a 2D fighter despite its killer 3D graphics. They're also unique because they feature Mexican wrestlers with jaguar masks, and King is who we're going to be focusing on today. Now, some of you may see where I'm going with this, as our friend over here is infamous for one particular move, and if you aren't in the loop, allow me to blow your mind. So, you know how attacks in fighting games leave the initiator either advantageous, neutral, or disadvantageous on block? This theory is crucial in every fighting game, especially the 3D ones, as they determine when you should use certain attacks and movement techniques. One such attack in Tekken is the down-forward one, as it's essentially a quick mid-poke you can throw out to keep the enemy in check, but King heard about this and took it way too far. Finding frame data for a game as old as Tekken 1 is quite the challenge, but this move's data has been neatly documented, and for good reason. On hit, King's down-forward 1 is +9, which is pretty good, but on block, it's +93. That's right, the opponent is placed into block stun for just over a second and a half, all because they blocked a simple mid-poke in neutral. If King throws this out, he instantly wins neutral, and there's nothing stopping him from doing it over and over. Eventually, the enemy will be pushed away if they keep blocking, but at this point, what's stopping King from beginning the cycle again? I mean, it's not like they can sidestep, and because the move is a mid, they can't duck either. If they get hit, great, they took some damage. If they block, even better, you're now +93. As the striker, you can do whatever you want here, because Lord knows you have the frame advantage of Kings, no pun intended. I didn't even realize this at first, but because the enemy is staggered, King can land a guaranteed launcher, and with how high damage is in Tekken 1, a short combo can be monstrous. If you ever find yourself playing this game with friends or in a big group, all you need to do is select King and use down-forward 1 over and over again. You should win every time. Some of you may see Injustice 1 and think of the infamous Superman string that put everyone to sleep during EVO Top 8, but I feel like mentioning a move that really tilted me personally the last time I played this game with a friend of mine. By running around the game's various stages, you'll notice these button prompts in the top corners, and you can interact with them in a variety of ways. Power characters will use stage interactables for offense, whereas gadget characters will use them for movement, so it's important to know which category your main fits into, and if they're the former, you can go wild. Stage interactables come in many forms, but what most if not all of them have in common is that they're unscaled, unblockable, hit OTG, and can be used as consistent combo enders. If you knock the enemy down, there's nothing stopping you from throwing one of the meaty to catch them when they're rising. As far as I can tell, there's nothing they can do here to escape, so you can take off just over a fifth off their life bar with a single button press. Perhaps the most infamous example is Batman using a dumpster to eliminate all crime in Gotham. This video I have on screen now is fantastic. It shows just how stupid these interactables can be when used effectively, and I love it and I hope you've seen it before. When you're on the receiving end of something like this, it can often feel like there's just no hope, as you can't block, you can't jump, and you can't even lie down without being safe for goodness sakes. The one that hurt me the most on an emotional level was the Asylum stage's pig carcass, as it can be thrown back and forth infinitely. This too is unblockable, and because it's so tall and so fast, you can't jump over or crouch under it. If you're playing as a big fighter like Bane or Solomon Grundy, then I think you have to take the hit, which is really annoying, and it means that pig advantage is undeniable. An underrated interactable that I messed around with when recording footage for the video was this pipe in the cell block stage. It freezes the enemy in place on hit, so if you try to jump over it, it's gonna most likely clip you. This obviously leads to a full combo, so make sure to use it before your opponent does. Interacting with the stage itself isn't very common in 2D fighters, especially those not developed by NRS, and even though I really like the concept, I feel that the execution was a bit bizarre. In most situations, the interactables aren't too annoying, but the more common ones can easily dictate the pace of the match. There are so many videos on YouTube of people exploiting their unblockable properties, and you can find some really dirty uses for them, so I suggest looking them up, they're great fun to watch. Exclusively released in Japan for the Wii in 2012, Kamen Rider Super Climax Heroes is a title that I have a lot of experience with, and just when I think I've seen all that the game has to offer, something new comes along and always blows me away. Now, and I hate to admit this, but my tournament success in this game is a result of one move in particular, Agito's Machine Tornado. I usually call it the Bugatti because even though it's very expensive, it's a massive flex. Can your character summon a vehicle that's oddly versatile? To use it, make sure to pick this version of Agito specifically, and when you have at least 2 bars of meter, flick the right stick. Yep, this game uses the right stick on the Wii's classic controller, don't ask me why. When summoned, the bike will come flying in to defend its owner, and if it hits the opponent, they'll be sent to the ER. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I believe the move is unscaled, making it great to use in combos. A strategy I would often use is to throw the enemy in the corner, rider kick them, and then use the bike. This combo is so simple that even a newborn could do it, and yet it does disgusting damage. Outside of combos, it can also be used as a method to keep the enemy away from you. In other words, if the opponent knows you're willing to spend meter in neutral, some of them will refrain from advancing, meaning that you can use the threat of the bike as a psychological deterrent. This lets Agito control neutral, allowing him to generate even more meter from full screen with little to no risk. But let's say that his defense crumbles and the enemy gets in. In this case, you can start spamming the bike, as if there's even a tiny gap in their attack string, it's gonna come flying in to break their combo, although this requires full meter. However, the same can't be said for getting out of block strings, as this still requires 2 bars, and I used to do this all the time when I was competing. This tournament footage you're watching now was when I played after months of not practicing, and when I set my controller up at the event, my button mapping was incorrect. But because the bike carried me so much, I couldn't be bothered to fix it, and I even ended up winning the entire tournament undefeated. With all of that being said, Agito's bike requires some restraint, so if you do it from a great distance, the enemy can easily move around it, so I'd suggest using it as a mid to close range tool. Even after not playing this game for over a year, my Agito muscle memory quickly came back when I was recording footage for the video, and even though I think the bike is really stupid, I can't lie, it's gotten me out of many bad situations. If you're a die-hard fighting game fan, then there's no doubt that you'll have heard of Karnov's Revenge before, and if you've played it, then you've absolutely run into the behemoth that is Ray. Pretty much all of his moves are applicable for this video, especially his wheel kick, which is so broken by the way, I hate it. But there's another attack that I really wanted to talk about. If you press forward twice and punch, Ray performs Dynamite Tackle, a neutral skipping combo ender that is safe on block. This is already pretty good, but if you hold back and charge before initiating the move, it becomes the Thunder Dynamite Tackle, doing double the damage while remaining safe. Depending on spacing, the move can hit up to 5 times, and as the heavy version quickly travels full screen, it's great to use for when you want to gain ground. For anyone looking to utilize an aggressive style of play revolving around continuous pressure, this attack will be your best friend. It helps you get in, it helps you stay in, and if the enemy slips up, it helps you punish them severely. Karnov's Revenge also features a unique stun mechanic tied to battle damage, so if you wear down a specific piece of your opponent's clothing, eventually they will become dizzy. If the enemy's weak point is anywhere near their chest, Thunder Dynamite Tackle will shred through them, and when they're helpless, you can just do it again. If the opponent is in the corner, you can use the move after a hard knockdown to initiate a tricky cross-up, and this can begin a brand new pressure cycle. The only downside is that you have to charge the attack for it to become upgraded, but it's not like this makes Ray helpless. He still has a quick fireball, a godlike anti-air, and the regular Dynamite Tackle, so I won't lie and say that he's struggling to make ends meet. Think of it like this, Dynamite Tackle is like a drive rush on steroids, and it's a massive part of Ray's toolkit. He's a fighter with some very fascinating advanced techniques, but if you just want to press buttons and get easy wins as a new player, then you can't go wrong with a little neutral skip every now and then. Moving over to the world of indie fighters now, a good friend of mine suggested that I check out a title called Uchu Mega Fight, a free-to-play fighter with 2 buttons that runs in your browser or on your smartphone. Inspired by Nintendo's Joy Mech Fight from the Dark Ages, Uchu has some truly wacky characters, but it's a result of amazingly passionate Japanese devs, and one of their characters has a move that had me dying laughing. After selecting Joy Mode Hushi, perform his Hawawa attack. Yes, that's what it's called, Hawawa. This move looks quite simple as it's essentially just a Blanca Ball, albeit one that looks quite silly, but it gets even crazier when you perform the EX version. When doing this, Hushi flies across the screen, leading to massive damage on hit, and on top of this, it's safe on block and whiff. If the enemy defends, Hushi gets sent flying backwards, and he can throw out a giant follow-up attack. If they duck, he goes flying forward, so it's hard to challenge him when he takes to the skies. To make the move even better, it can randomly cross up in the corner sometimes due to its hitbox that protrudes behind him, so if you ever feel like starting pressure, you know what to do. The attack also has stupidly high priority, so it's often going to trade with other attacks for big damage. But wait, I hear you say. Since this is the EX version, it should cost meter, so you wouldn't be able to do it anytime you wanted, right? Well, EX attacks in Uchu Mega Fight are free to perform because the game has no meter, so there's literally nothing stopping you from doing it over and over again. The only downside, and this is borrowed from Ray's Thunder Tackle, is that the strike is locked behind a charge motion, but if you want to keep enemies away without charging, this move comes in handy. We're not done yet though, as EX Hawawa also leads to unimaginable stun output. Landing a few normals and then one EX Hawawa will instantly stun the enemy, and if you do another Hawawa, their life bar will melt. But let's say that the opponent decides to ruin your charge input by constantly switching sides. No worries, because Hushi also has an EX flash kick, and this gives you more than enough time to charge your next EX Hawawa. My aforementioned friend told me that he made it all the way to Grand Finals at EVO Japan last year from spamming this move, and that all of his opponents would slam the table in frustration. This character, this little dude right here, is absolutely mental, and it's all thanks to one of the best charge moves I think I've ever seen in a fighting game. Shoutouts to the devs for this, as well as the amazing Q&A section on their website. My fingers get tired when I play fighting games on smartphone. Get used to it. Another thing you'll have to get used to can be found in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers The Fighting Edition. Say that 5 times fast. Anyone worth their weight in damaged copper will know about the iconic Ivan Ooze and just how broken he is. If you don't know much about this game, then Ivan might not seem that strong due to his really unorthodox proportions and lack of ability to block, but if you mess around with him for even a little bit, you'll find one move in his toolkit that is undeniably stupid. Perform DP and punch for arguably the most broken move in fighting game history, Invulnerable Strike. This is a two-parter, as although it starts off as a protective energy sphere, it ends in multiple homing fireballs being shot at the opponent. Combine this with Ivan's ability to fly, and you start to see why it's so strong, but I promise that it gets even worse. Or better, depending on your outlook. During the first half of the move, Ivan is totally invincible. Try as you might, but nothing you do can hit him, and it reminds me of Magneto's Force Field Super in Children of the Atom. As if the move wasn't good enough, Invulnerable Strike also has 0 startup frames, so it's active the moment that you execute its input. As soon as the fireballs disappear, if you're playing as Ivan, then you can and should start the move again. I mean, it's not like there's any delay. Okay, that all is really stupid, but here's where it gets downright offensive on a moral level. This violates the Geneva Conventions, do trust me. If Ivan somehow finds himself stuck in hit stun, Invulnerable Strike can break him out of it. You saw that right, Ivan can literally cancel out of his being attacked animation and just go back to being frame 0 invincible. It doesn't matter what kind of strike connects here, as if he's ever recoiling in pain, a simple DP motion is all that's needed to make things right again. Having access to a meterless combo breaker that works anywhere on the screen and takes no skill or execution is simply ridiculous, and all of this together leads to Ivan being objectively the strongest fighter in the whole game. Connect with it, fly away, and then start your zoning game, rinse and repeat. Call me crazy, but I think this could lead to all of Ivan's matchups being 10-0 in his favor. If you try to think outside the box and throw Ivan, you'll find that his permanent aerial states makes this impossible, so in order to hit him, you're forced to use physical hits and projectiles, throws just simply don't work. This means that no character or player will ever stand a chance against him, so I have no hesitation in saying that this is possibly the most stupid fighting game move of all time. After experimenting with all of those stupid moves, my brain is fried, so I think I need to go outside and touch grass. These moves are only the tip of the iceberg, and there are so many other attacks I could have included if I had more time to make the video, so if you'd potentially like to see a follow-up, let me know in the comments. From grounded normals to aerial specials and pretty much everything in between, it's clear to see that a wide variety of these beloved fighting games contain downright unadulterated jank, and I don't think they would be the same without it. I've had plenty of hilarious moments with friends because of these stupid attacks, and they simply never get old. The imperfections are part of what gives the genre its charm after all, so I'm forever grateful for these moves, even if some of them are a bit too strong. It was good fun going through these games to record footage, and I had no idea just how mind-blowing some of them could be. Hushi may be a deformed stick figure man, but he now has a special place in my heart thanks to my research. Okay, if you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you and your time, and I hope you had fun, and I hope you learned something. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.